Hey everybody, welcome. It's Thursday. It's Samp&Chance boxing. On this episode, Tyson Fury, is he humbled? Also, we're going to take a look at the Canelo Berlanga fight. Is it a wise move to go up against UFC? Nocho. Also, we're going to take a look at Inoue, his fight, and is he fighting the right competition? All this and so much more on this episode of Samp&Chance. So strap in and thank you for letting us into your ears. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Samp&Chance Boxing. I am your host, Bobby Sampson, joined as always, my man with the master plan, Mr. Chance Michaels. Chance, how are you, buddy?
Doing good. Yourself?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. I think we're getting into that last stage of summer. Nice, beautiful weather for the rest of this week. It's beautiful. Back in our day, they used to call this Indian summer, but I don't think you can say that anymore, right? I just did, but I don't think you can.
I'm not supposed to, but I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah. Fair enough. Not much going on this week in terms of big marquee matchups. I mean, there are fights going on. There's some fights in New Zealand. There are fights in South Africa, and also here, but lower cards, lower level.
Nothing that's noteworthy, though. Nothing that nobody cares about.
Yeah, and that's taking nothing away from those athletes that are competing. They're doing the best they can. Unfortunately, unless you're really, 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 really hardcore and pressed for boxing, this is what we got this week. So nothing extraordinary coming down the pipeline. It all kind of picks up again next week with the Canelo fights. And after that, we got Joshua. And then, we're leading up into October, Ronnie Rios, and all the way down to Tyson Fury in December, man. So why don't we get into it? We talked about Tyson Fury just right now. Why don't we get into it a little bit here with Tyson Fury? So I have a question for you, my friend. Do you think Tyson Fury is humbled? I do.
I don't. He's just focused. He's focused. He's not doing as much talking, as much trash talking to sell the fight because he doesn't need to sell the fight. This is the heavyweight rematch. People are going to watch it. People are going to buy it. Maybe he got knocked down a couple of pegs, but he's still got the confidence. I don't think he's humbled. He's just focused. He's training harder. He's doing less social media stuff, less trash talk. But he thought he won, so I don't think he's humbled at all. I just think he's going to come back better, stronger, and fitter as much as he can. And he's trying a new approach this time.
Well, I mean, I say he's humbled in the sense that, okay, granted, even though he was training for the last fight against Usyk, he didn't take it seriously. He didn't take Nagano seriously. I mean, it just almost feels like he was just getting.
Oh, he took Usyk serious. He took it serious. He trained. I think he trained
so,
hard.
Bro. If he took him seriously, it wouldn't have ended the way it did.
No. The thing is, like I said,
let me finish, man. Let me finish. You're cutting me off.
He's too old. His reflexes are slowing down.
But you're not letting me finish my thought, man. You're cutting me off before I finish. All I'm trying to say is the humility I'm talking about is like he's being brought down a peg or two, like you said, which is right. I mean, a loss would do that to a man. I almost feel losing is probably the best thing that ever happened to the guy because now he's focused. I don't think, maybe he was focused a little bit, not the way he should have been for his last two fights. That's what my point is. I'm not taking away his focus, but the fact that you don't see him on social media and any of this stuff, and he's always been very adamant and very, prominent on the social media platforms for all the other fights that he's had. So I just find it really interesting that he's taken a step back from all of it. You haven't heard a peep out of him. He hasn't been at any shows. He's training really, really hard. And this is a huge, I mean, if Usyk should be concerned, I believe he should be concerned. I'm not saying that he's not going to win the fight. I just feel that losing has brought him down a peg or two, which has humbled him.
So I totally disagree with you. He trained his butt off for Usyk, probably the hardest he's ever trained. He just lost. So. He's 35. What I've been saying this many times. It happens with Pocky. It happens with Roy Jones. It's happening to Fury. When you rely on reflexes like that, and he's such a big man, when he's doing his head against the ropes, he can't slip those punches like he used to. It wasn't that he wasn't training. His body slowed down. He's took a lot of shots to the head. He trained his butt off as hard as he ever did. He's not a stupid man. He knew that last fight was for undisputed. Both are undefeated. He took that seriously, and he just lost to Usyk. And Usyk just had a better game plan, and Fury's reflex was slowing down. He needs a different game plan. Fury needs, but to say Fury didn't train hard, no, he gave it his all. He just lost to a better man that night, and as he can't do that head movement, he's got to put his gloves up because he can't slip like he used to. He's 36. He's almost a 300-pound man, so that's why people think he's not training, but he's actually his reflexes are slowing down. The punch that he easily slipped before, just by half an inch, he can't slip him, and he's getting pegged, but. Yeah, Nagano maybe he didn't take too seriously, but like I said, this fight he'll train as hard as he can, but it's just his reflexes of slowing down because he relies on those so much. That's how I see
Yeah,
it.
no, I'm not questioning his training. He came in great shape and everything, but I just think he came in with too much bravado, and I think he was just too arrogant going into the fight, you know. And I think that's what cost him. I mean, it's in the head movement, yes, the age, yes, but I think the fact that he was just that bravado that he's been carrying around for the last 3, 4 years, it's over the top. There's no balance to the guy, but it feels like having that loss now we're going to see a different Tyson Fury. The
The
Tyson
bravado is
Fury,
still there, and if he beats, you was sick. He's gonna be talking crap like you wouldn't believe.
no, and then
He's playing a head game right now. He's being quiet, he's trying to get a Usyk's head.
well,
But he's training his butt off.
yeah. Well, we'll get more into that fight. I mean, it's a long way off. I mean, it's what
Mm-hmm.
almost before Christmas. So I just wanted to talk about that. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. All
The
right,
head
brother
game.
man. Next one, Inoue. Let's get into it, my friend. So Inoue fought this Tuesday morning. Dowie from Ireland. Seventh round stoppage, not much to write about. I think the question here wasn't so much the fight. We've kind of debated this a little bit already before we even got to this. Um, I've changed my tune a little bit on it, but I do believe that Inoue needs to move up to fight better competition. I mean, if you look at the 122, yeah, there's guys in there, but there's no one in there really for him. I mean, you talked about that he's fought world champions, this and that. All of these guys are undefeated, but most of these guys are over the hills. They're like past their prime. They're like near the end. I mean, his career, in my opinion, is just being so well crafted and so well protected. It's almost like they don't want him to move up because the stiffer competition. Not to say those guys down there up at 126 can beat him or anything, but I don't know. It just feels like the fights that he's taking, not that exciting. You?
Totally disagree with you. The last 15 guys he's fought have all been undefeated. And he's only fought one guy over the age of 35. Everybody else been 32, 29, around his age. He can only fight what you put in front of him, right? Everybody they put in front of him are all undefeated. Most of them are former champions. He's knocking them all out.
Yeah, they're all
of course, they
undefeated.
might not be the most marquee name, but the records are good. The last guy he fought, he is a former IBF champ, so they're no jokes, right? He'll move up eventually when he wants, when they want him to, but he's selling out in Tokyo. He's a huge star. He's making money hand over fist. I mean, this is
Yeah.
smart. Like I don't blame the guy, right?
No, you don't blame the guy, but I mean, it's starting to catch up to the guy. You're talking about his last fight against Dowie. I mean, yeah, the guy's 38. He's past his prime. He lost three of his
37,
four,
yeah.
37, 38. He's lost three of his four fights. I mean, how is he even warranted a title
No,
shot?
he's undefeated. That was TJ's first loss.
No.
Yeah,
Are you
that was his
sure?
first loss. Positive. His last 15 fights have been against undefeated fighters. Pretty positive.
No, I'm talking about Dowie, the guy he just fought.
Oh yeah, he's lost a few fights. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. He came off
yeah.
like this is what I'm saying. He lost three of his four fights coming into that fight against Inoue.
But he's still a former champ, right?
Yeah,
it's like fighting Derevchenko for Mobility, right?
No,
those
I
guys
get
have
it.
all lost.
Right, I get it. Same thing with him. It's just, and maybe this is a trend with top rank. I mean, they don't, like right now, Bob doesn't really have anyone in there except prospects, right? And outside of Inoue and stuff like that, Inoue is probably the biggest name he's carrying right now. So I think
he's got Lomo, he's got Tiafimo, he's got Fury sort of works with him. He's got a few big guys.
Yeah, he does, but it just I just feel that Inoue needs to move up in order to become better, like to for his legacy, anyways, right? I mean, if he keeps doing what he's doing and fighting
they got him
fights
ranked.
That he's fighting,
basically, he's top 5 pound for pound, so he's
sure,
out. So.
Sure, I get it. I think he needs to step up. That's all. That's
he's a pretty little guy. I mean, he won't get much past 126. 130. He's little. People forget how small this guy is, right? He's just a little guy. What is he? 5'6"?
Yeah,
5'5"?
he's little, but I mean, so is everyone else at the other weight classes. So I mean, move up to 126, take on Ray Vargas. I mean, there's guys in there. I'm not saying that those guys are gonna do anything to him per se, but you need to move up now. That's all I'm saying.
I hear you, but when he's selling out in Tokyo, he's making money. He's one of the best fighters in the world. It's kind of
like I mean, okay, if you want to do a Japan fight, then him and Nakatani should be happening, but he's avoiding Nakatani.
We don't know if he's avoiding him. Maybe we don't know the reasons, right? We don't know. Inoue's pretty quiet, doesn't talk much, right? So I wouldn't say. I don't think he's scared of anybody. Same thing with Canelo. They're not scared of anybody. They're picking their smart.
Speaking about Canelo, let's get into it, my friend. Canelo Berlanga is happening next week at the MGM, but they're going head to head with UFC Nocho at the Sphere. Is that a wise decision on their part? Like, I mean, I don't. I think they're gonna. I think both arenas will be sold out, but
Oh,
I think they're
guaranteed.
gonna lose on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, this Canelo, even without UFC sphere going on, he wasn't going to draw a big number against Berlanga. But Canelo will sell the MGM. He sells it wherever he goes. Um, it's gutsy. It's ballsy. I guess his mentality is we're not in competition with them. It's a different sport. Lots of times you have two things going on at the same time. For example, SummerSlam, Pacquiao fight was on at the same time. So things happen in Vegas. But I guess Canelo feels he's the king of Vegas, and Dana White feels they're the biggest show in town. So both will sell out. We'll see who does better pay-per-view numbers. I'd assume UFC will, but it'll be pretty close because Canelo does draw big on pay-per-view. Just Berlanga is not really a great dance partner to draw that big number. So it's definitely gutsy on his part.
Yeah, no,
Or you could say Safir is going up against Canelo. I guess you look, or UFC is going up against Canelo. You could spin it the other way too, right?
you could spin it the other way, and I'm sure it's spin both ways on both fronts, right? But I mean, just like, okay, first off, I'm thinking to myself, okay, Canelo usually fights in big arenas or stadiums, right? I love the MGM, but for him to go to the MGM, do you almost feel that they're thinking, okay, we're not going to be able to sell out T-Mobile against this sort
I
of a
think
deal?
I think there's only a couple more thousand seats in T-Mobile, not many. It's only like 2 or 3 thousand more, so it's very similar. So he would have sold out T-Mobile. He just bring the prices down a little bit, and he would have sold it out.
Yeah, I mean the undercard looks pretty good too. I mean you got Danny Garcia on there, you got Caleb Plant on there as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean if you look at the two cards, I mean outside of the Sean O'Malley fight, there's really nothing that's too exciting about that other card at UFC. I mean it is if you're a Mexican fan, right? They got a lot of the Mexican fighters on there as well, but I mean
The
overall,
whole
I don't.
Sapir, the first UFC, they're going to make it a cool event in there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I wonder how much can he do in this sphere for fighting? Like, I mean, how much? Because I mean, at the end of the day, the attention is on the ring. I mean, for a concert, I can see the venue being amazing.
Mm-hmm.
For a talk, for things like that. But for a sporting event, I just don't see how that. But like, I'm sure it's going to look amazing, but will it take away from the concentration of the fighter?
No,
But so that's what I'm curious about. Like, how will they present this when the actual fights
it's
happen?
going to be all the stuff they do outside on the screens, inside on the screens, cool lights, cool videos, just something special. Dana White is going to be the biggest pay-per-views, that biggest event he's ever put on. We'll
Well,
see what he
yeah,
does.
yeah. It's putting a lot of money into it, man. I mean, it's going to be extraordinary. So I'm excited to see it. What are you going to
Mm-hmm.
watch? I mean, it's a tough one. I'm probably going to go back and forth.
Well, I'm going to watch. I'm not going to go back and forth because I like boxing a little better than MMA, and I got to
Yeah,
do it for the show. So
yeah.
I'll focus on the Canelo stuff, and then
Oh no, yeah.
I'll watch UFC later.
Well, no, no, same here. I'm more of the boxing guy as well, but in between fights and stuff like that, I'll probably go over there instead of watching all the filler stuff that they do in between fights. That's the way I'm looking at it. All right,
But
brother
yeah,
man. 3 rounds in the bag. I think that's all we kind of got this week. We disagreed entirely this entire show, which is good, I guess.
but yeah,
Um,
no point in having a debate show if we agree on everything, right? It'd be boring.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, 100%. You're not wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. So let's just agree to disagree and
Yeah,
carry on being brothers in arms. How's that sound?
yeah. So just all a debate, man. It's all in
Aw-
good fun.
Awesome, awesome. All right, brother. Anything happened this day in Canadian history, or this week in Canadian history, or boxing history?
They got two things. This week in Canadian history, our buddy Raz Barrington Francis was born,
Hmm,
1960. And then in American history, 1995, Frank Bruno won the WBC heavyweight title against Oliver McCall in 1995, sold out Wembley Stadium, 22,000.
that's amazing, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. We got to get over that way at some point, my friend. I just to
Mm-hmm.
watch
Frank
boxing in
Bruno,
the UK.
all time great in English boxing. You know what I mean? Just
Right, he
all
was
time.
great until he fought Tyson.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but he still had a
I mean,
great career. Yeah, Tyson.
right? I mean, they were all great until they fought Tyson. Did you hear about what Tyson said recently? He said of all the boxers in the world right now, the one guy he doesn't want to face is David Benavidez. He's the only guy that he's not scared of, but would not want to fight. That's
Yeah,
direct from Tyson.
I wonder if he's just saying that because he's the one who nicknamed him the monster, right? So.
Kind of interesting because I mean, again, I'm a huge fan of David. We're a fan of our
Mm-hmm.
show and whatnot, but I keep coming back. He did not look good at all at one. Like he looked good at 175, but I mean, he didn't
He didn't
look
look great.
spectacular, right? And then Morel as well. Morel didn't look that great when he moved up from 168
Oh,
either.
this when you get those guys are getting heavy weights. These guys hit a lot harder.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not to say like I mean having that fight at 175 under his belt. I'm sure David's gonna probably look better now because he has a bit more. understanding of what it's all about. I'm curious to see how Morel rebounds into his next fight. Those
Oh,
guys
speaking
won.
of that, you totally reminded me of what we were going to talk about. I totally forgot about it. Speaking of Bivol Beterbiev, the winner will fight Benavidez
Yeah,
because His Excellency is going to make it happen. And the reason I bring that up, he wants to bring all boxing pay per view prices down to $20 an event,
yeah.
which is a great idea because he knows people are going to steal it anyways. But if you can get a few extra guys that wouldn't pay for it to throw in $20, it adds up.
Well, his initial plan is for the UK. I think everything he's talking about is more geared towards the European side. He's not really, you know, going to implement this on the North American side or
I don't
anything.
know if they'll
Maybe.
let him.
Well, I mean, he can with the DAZN platform. If he's running his shows off of DAZN, yes, he can.
Mm.
Right? I mean, if he's working in conjunction with Top Rank or PBC or Golden Boy, there might be a problem. Well, Golden Boy is also on DAZN as well, so it wouldn't be a problem for him there. I think it would just be more Prime and Amazon Prime and ESPN. If
I don't know if the zone will let him do that. But I mean, the thing of the zone is they start out at $13 a month.
Yeah,
And then it was you get the Canelo pay per view as part of your package. Then it was
if you
you got to
subscribe,
buy it.
you got to subscribe.
Now it's $39 a month. Plus, you got to buy the pay per view. Yeah, they give you some free fights, but those are not
Yeah.
like stellar.
Well, I mean, I hope it works out because I mean, at the end of the day, some of the prices are just too exorbitant, man. It's just too expensive. I can't blame people for not wanting to have to pay. I mean, dude, we pay. Okay, let's just be honest. Like we do the best we can. But
Mhm.
if you think about it, for every show we watch, for everything we watch on a weekly basis or catch up over the week, to prepare for the show or whatnot, think about how much it'd be costing us,
Mhm. That's not cheap.
right? And thank God we don't talk too much UFC.
Mhm.
I mean, they're the most expensive out of everybody. And I get
Yeah.
it. They put on good fights, this and that. But let's be honest, man. You want to talk about the casual fan, the hardcore fan? I think I'm in between casual and hardcore when it comes to UFC and stuff like that. Like I follow it, I understand it, but I don't know it like I know boxing or wrestling, right? To be
Mhm.
fair.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
but so for me, as that kind of a fan, can I justify spending $79, 60 to $80 for a pay-per-view where I know who all the fighters are, but if you're a casual fan, is that justified? I mean, you're only going in for one fight that you know the big name of. Otherwise, the rest of the card is whatever to you.
Yeah, and that's most people. They John Jones is fighting or Brock Lesnar at GSP. A few guys will get together, buddy. So they all put in a few dollars. But
Yeah.
some of these guys now, there's so many pay per views. Most people don't know who half these guys are. I'm not saying they don't put on good fights. They're just not marquee names, right? The
Well, I
most
mean,
popular guy in UFC would be what? John Jones, Usman, Kobe
Connor.
Covington. He doesn't fight anymore though, but yeah.
No, but Connor's still that guy. The minute he
Mm-hmm.
comes back, he breaks all the records. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he can come back after 2 years and he still be
Yep.
the biggest draw there, right? So I
Yep.
mean, it just almost kind of comes across like even in boxing, I get it, right? Like I mean, we get those cards. Like Top Rank does a great job with their prospects. Like I mean, whenever you get a card, like say Tyson Usyk, right, and that
Mm-hmm.
undercard would be Bruce Carrington, Abdullah Mason, uh, the kid from Puerto Rico, Xander. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like you got those guys on there, and it's exciting for you and me because these are the future. These are going to be the names in the next 5 to 10 years. The big boys, the boys that are running everything. So, from that perspective, I can understand it. But yeah, it's just too much money, man. For
Speaking of that, we'll have to say something about boxing. Joe Tessitore made his debut on Raw. We thought he did great. I guess the people didn't think he's very good. It's so funny how we thought he did pretty good. Even Bully Ray said something, and I don't really listen to Busted Open because there are too much fanboys over there. But he did say something I agree with. He said when you're listening to Joe Tessitore, you felt like you're listening to a real sport, like you're listening to college football, boxing, or I think he said hockey. Doesn't do
Yeah,
hockey. It felt
100%.
real. It felt
Well,
special.
dude,
When you
and
listen to
that's what
Michael
I
Cole, you can tell it doesn't feel special. He had like a Jim Ross, Vince Scully feel, but the people online crushing him.
well, I mean, the people online, I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I think they're all wrong. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
say them all to their faces, they're all wrong. I mean, just when that show started, the way they started it, the opening, and he came on, and he just looked so comfortable in there, right? Even standing in the ring with Wade Barrett to open up the show, that which is different. They've not done that before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to have him come out the way he did in front of everybody with the live mic, right? I mean, it's one thing to just put the headset on and talk, but to be in the middle of the ring on your very first day in front of these rabid fans coming off a pay-per-view, right?
The only problem is that I got a feeling he won't be there in too long, just because I can already tell by the online people, and they kind of control wrestling, and they're going to keep hammering this guy out. And they're going to be so worried about that online community, they might, after 6
Well,
months.
you know what? I mean, I think if they do that, then
they're already on it. They're already
well,
talking it.
no, they can talk all they want, but the reality is, I mean, what he brings to the table, the quality, just his professionalism. Let's forget everything else.
But these
The
guys
man,
don't understand that part,
the
though.
man's professionalism is next to none. And I already knew that from boxing, but to see it come into the other arena that I love, to have him come into a space that I love, that I never thought he would be there, right? I mean, Moral Ronaldo, he was okay, but he was too over the top, right?
Yeah.
And I can understand that one. Jimmy Smits, he really didn't know what he was doing per se. Let's be fair, right? He did the best he could. He wasn't that great. Pat McAfee, okay, I can tolerate him. You can't. I get that. No, it's fine. But Joe, he just looked the part. He knew everybody's name. He knew all the moves. How would you know this stuff? You've never done it, right? So this is why I was wondering how much time did he spend in the mock studio just commentating over old matches and practicing and studying.
I think a guy like him is like, he's like a Vince Scully. He's like Pat Summerall. They can commentate any sport because they're so smart. They're so professional. They're so well studied. Put them on any sport, and they got that great voice, and they can just call it.
No, they can call it, but wrestling is a little different because of the storylines, because of the past, because of the moves, right? You're not calling right, left hooks. You're not calling a jab. You're calling a hurricanrana. You're calling a doomsday device. Like, for the fact that he knows the names of.
And then he's got people in his ear talking to him, Pritchard and them. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, though.
But even if he has people pitching it to him, even if he doesn't know what hurricanrana was, he made me believe that he knew what that move meant and what it does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, he's a fan. He's a fan for sure.
So he was good. He was great. People who are complaining that
there's a lot of them, dude. It's not a few guys. It's a big
chunk. Let them complain. I mean, I what do they want? You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
they want more Ronaldo and Pat McAfee, and they want Dragunov and Dragon Lee. That's what they want.
But anyways, that was not the rest.
Anyways, I thought
he did really good. Yeah,
he did really good. So
I'm glad we agreed on something today, brother. All right, I tell you what, let's wrap this puppy up. The day is young. Let's get out there. It's the weekend, the first weekend after the school week. Everything's back to normal. The days are starting to get shorter. Weather's still fine. So guys, go out there, have fun, do what you guys got to do. But just remember, have a safe way home. Make sure you're taken care of and you're home for your families, because you probably got to drop your kids off at school Monday morning. And, if you're not there, then how are they going to get to school? So just remember that, right? Whatever you guys do to yourselves, just remember how it will affect the others around you if it doesn't work out. I'm Bobby Sampson. He's Mr. Chance Michaels.
In the words of the great AC/DC, those that download, like, and subscribe to the cast, salute you.
We do salute you. And everybody, remember, do the things that change your life. Do not do things that justify your life or try to make other people happy. If you're not happy, then what's the point of making anyone else happy? Focus on yourself. It's selfish. But if you're not good, if you're not healthy, if you're not strong in your mind and body, you can't be there for anybody else. Samp&Chance out.